Hi. Good. It's working this time. Okay, so I hope this one's going to be successful. Take 2. Or actually, it's 3 now. But anyway, I just wanted to talk with you about a quote, and I want to invigorate you with some fresh energy. And I want to invigorate you with some confidence and peace and joy, and that we can discern the time that we're living in. But I want to read a quote to you right now from Benjamin Franklin, who said, and I quote, "Those that can give up essential liberty to gain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And I want that to sink in with you for a minute. Those that can give up an essential liberty to gain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And friends, this is the time that we are in now. Okay, we have a spiritual timeline unfurling, and we also have how what is it looking like here? What are we dealing with? And right now we're dealing with a pandemic that's way bigger than a virus. We're dealing with major fear and control. History tends to repeat itself because the same enemy doesn't ever come up with any new plays. He has the same losing playbook. But what's happening is that you're seeing a great concerted effort between the left and the media and professionals that would agree with them, trying to convince you by social unacceptance that if you choose to stand up and look for truth or exhibit your freedoms, that you're somehow socially unacceptable. Well, let me tell you, friends, this country was founded not in groupthink, not in we're going to do what's best for the masses. This country was founded on individual responsibility and individual freedom. And when you are individually free and you have individual responsibility to be and to become and to create and to be who God made you to be, understanding that only God gives us freedom, when you know that, then you will be responsible because you respect the rights that you have and the freedoms that you have. And because of that, you do look after others, but it's not coming from a government push, right? We know that Jesus tells us to love our enemies, but we don't comply with them. We don't become like them, right? We are to have love and compassion. But we also have to understand where that line gets, I think it gets used against the body of Christ, because we feel we all have to be weak. And it's just, I'm seeing it now more than ever. And it's been something that I've just so many times have been like, Lord, would you just wake us up? Listen, I need you to understand something. Jesus isn't a wimp. He's not a loser. He is victorious. He is not politically correct. He offended people all the time. Okay? Did he go out to offend people? Probably not. But the fact that he is the way, the truth, and the life agitated the enemy working within the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the unbelievers, those that were oppressed or filled with the demonic. They could sense him coming, and they didn't want to go. They didn't want to be dethroned. They didn't want to be displaced. So what I'm saying is, right now, we have a spiritual, the Lord has plans for us spiritually, right? So the body of Christ is praying for the harvest. We're praying into that. We're praying in for healing and breakthrough and for all those prophetic words and the rising up and the taking back. But in the natural, we also have to do something too. And so as I've been out Christmas shopping and out with my husband, I'm just seeing so many people that are just complying because the government is telling you to, the celebrities are telling you to, you're listening to false reports, and everybody's rolling over. I don't understand it. I do not understand it. I don't understand it. I am with Benjamin Franklin. Listen, I don't believe you're getting the truth on the numbers. I don't believe you're getting truth about testing. I mean, if you just do a simple Google, the COVID test doesn't even show active sickness. It shows antibodies. You could have had that at any time. This is COVID number 19. I mean, you could have a common cold or the flu or H1N1 or it's going to show positive for any of those things. Okay, I think it's ironic right now that the flu reports of the normal flu are like nothing. I think it's amazing that we're told that we have to have masks in our home and masks at stores and social distance and sanitize yourself out to the hilt. And that's ruining your health biome, actually. If you want to talk about health, we're not going to talk about masks. We're going to talk about zinc, D3, vitamin C, sunshine, fresh air, water, good food, getting out of the chemicals, get out the processed and refined carbs. We're going to talk about exercise. We're going to talk about getting your soul realm clean. If we want to talk about health, there's a lot to talk about health. Guess what's not part of it? Masks. You know why? Because they say, I'm not talking about professional level masks for construction workers or if you're in the ER or if you're a medical professional. I'm talking about most people wearing a scarf or a handkerchief or a gaiter or whatever. And I'm just saying, listen, if it was about health and this worked, people wouldn't have to force you to wear it. They wouldn't have to make it look like our governor says he's trying to make it socially unacceptable for anybody to be seen without a mask. And he's saying that they can fine you, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to enforce it. Why? Because if it goes to court, they're going to lose and the mandate goes out the window because it's non-constitutional. It's against your freedoms. I can't make you wear a dress or a pair of pants or a pair of jeans. I can't tell you to put a hat on or wear sunglasses or cut your hair no more than someone can tell you to wear a mask. So I'm saying we are built on individual responsibility and individual freedom. So that being said, you have an individual responsibility and freedom to go or not go, to mask or not mask. But to come from a government mandate that has not been legislated, that's a different subject. So they're using fear and control right now to take things from you. And I'm just shocked at how many people are complying. If you have a medical health concern and you feel better wearing it, be blessed. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the compliance, and people are grumbling and complaining. Their kids aren't going to school. I'm not understanding why people are willing to allow their actual real lives to be so disrupted when the numbers and the science do not back it up. Okay, people die more from the regular flu than they have from coronavirus. Okay? That's just a fact. You can look at the numbers. We're closing down businesses and states and schools and colleges, and people are losing their income and their livelihood and closing their businesses. For what? For what? For optics? It doesn't make sense. Okay, I want to read you some other things why I'm just going to tell you it doesn't make sense. You are required in my state to get a test if you travel into the state, unless you don't want to get a test, and then you can just quarantine yourself, but they're not going to enforce a quarantine. But you don't have to get a test if you travel for work. You don't have to get a test if you travel for visitation rights for children. You don't have to do it if you are under 11, but you do have to wear a mask if you're over 2. I'm not making fun of it, guys. I'm telling you, we need to stand up. What would happen? Okay, I can say that I can tell you something else here before I continue, because I'm not angry at our politicians. Okay, I can see the spirit that's behind it. We're not fighting with flesh and blood. We're fighting with principalities, powers, and rulers in the unseen realm. And as believers, we need to be using our authority from heaven, from the third heaven, seated beside Jesus Christ, who's seated beside our Father, and we need to be declaring and decreeing and uniting in prayer, absolutely. But we also need to be ready to raise the standard. When you go in public, if you feel like you have to wear a mask, be blessed and wear the mask. I'm talking about if you are literally concerned. But hopefully after you listen to this, maybe you won't be, okay? Because you have to understand, they are using fear tactics to try to manipulate you into a political optic. It's political signaling. That is why the governor of my state says that he wants it to be socially unacceptable but they're not going to enforce it. They're looking for the businesses in my state to police their customers and for customers to police each other. You can call numbers to report each other. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. We are not policing each other. We are not going to have brother against brother. We are going to be known for our brotherly love. We are going to stand up for each other, for our brothers and sisters in Christ, and for the harvest that's coming in, and we are not going to police people. I just have a real problem with this, guys, and today I was at multiple places. I was out yesterday, and I am shocked at how many people just do it and say nothing. And nothing. I don't understand. Your government works for you. Our government is by and for the people. What would happen? This is what we can learn from the left. They mobilize. They know how to get a message out there. What would happen if just 10, 20, 30% of us just stopped? Just stopped. How about if we started showing up at school board meetings and college meetings? How about if we started writing letters? Do you know why they're not enforcing things? Because if it goes to court, they're going to lose. So they want to try to get you to accept it. In the same way they're trying to get you to accept that Biden was elected, but he's not. Stop conceding your freedoms. Stop conceding an election that was fairly won. And then it took 3 and 4 days to get it reversed. I mean, come on. And people say, oh, well, that is not loving. Jesus would wear a mask. He is compassionate. Well, he is loving and he is compassionate. But I disagree with you because I can't read my Bible and understand a Jesus who isn't a mighty warrior dressed for battle. I can't understand a Jesus who would be intimidated by fear, because we know that fear is of the enemy. That's one of his top MOs. Fear and isolation. Okay, so you need to quarantine and you need to be quiet, and so we have a spiritual track right now where we know we're going into the greatest harvest ever. And now in the earth realm, we're supposed to cover our masks, socially distance, not go to church, limit our numbers, wear masks in our house and with our children. I don't accept it. No. Guess what happens? I go out in public and I am literally the only one. And they say, do you want a mask? And I say, no, thank you. And they say, usually nothing. And if they say something, I'm very polite and I'll say, I was advised by the doctor not to wear them. It is not in the best interest of my health. And they are not allowed to ask you beyond that. They can ask you to leave the premises. Yes. But then guess what? What do you think is going to happen next? They've now just discriminated against you for whatever your reason is for not wearing a mask or complying, whether it's religious, whether it's health, whatever it is. So I'm saying we have to understand our rights and our freedoms and be willing to stand up for them so that they're not taken from us. The longer we comply, the more you're giving concession. So there's so many that are just like, oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, it's ridiculous. But nobody's saying anything or do anything. If you think it's ridiculous, stop complying. Take the mask off your face and stand up for yourself. Because guess what's going to happen to you? Nothing. And if something does happen to you, the law's on your side. The Constitution's on your side. It is better to stand up and fight and win than to just have someone scare you away and take your lunch. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So I want to tell you a story. So I was at a big store a couple weeks ago, and very few times does anybody say anything. Also, I've already had it. And so is my husband, and so is a lot of family, friends, relatives all over the country. And I'm not trying to be disparaging over the virus. I understand it's a real virus. I understand it. I'm just saying, listen to Benjamin Franklin. It doesn't matter if it's something that's taking out. Look at the Pilgrims. When they came here, 50% of them died on the way here. It was still worth it to get their freedom. So I'm saying I understand that people are getting sick, but I'm saying your personal individual freedoms are of a higher value than a virus. And I know that can seem hard to understand, but we have to really hone in right now and realize what's at stake. And I do not believe that Jesus would be afraid and intimidated and running around afraid of people allowing them to push him away. I don't believe it. I believe he would stand strong, he would heal all the sick among them, and he would push back. And I think that's what we need to do too. So when I go out and I'm not wearing one, very few people freak out. I'm just going to tell you that because I feel like people come up to me all the time. They're like, oh, I wish I didn't have to wear one. And my response is, well, why are you? You know, a lady came up to me in Target and was like, why aren't you wearing one? And I told her, I'm like, the doctor told me not to. We already had it. We can't give it or pass it. And it's not worth sacrificing freedom. So what world do you want to live in? Because our governor said he wants to make it socially unacceptable for anybody to be seen without a mask. That's political signaling that has nothing to do with health. And we have to realize that. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner this will stop. Because if we can get a small percentage, 10, 20, 30% of us to just stop, to do what I'm doing and go live your life and stop participating with the fear. And if someone asks you to leave their store, they have the right to do that. But if they do that, it's discrimination. So don't cause a scene, but you then have right to recourse. How many of us are willing to do that for the good of our state and for the good of our people? I'm just saying there's a time where we have to do more than talking and we have to have actions. So we have to be bold and brave. The Constitution's on our side. Law enforcement's on our side because it's unenforceable. So when your government says they're going to order mandates but not enforce them, it's because they don't want to go to court because they will lose. So if you accept it before the court, it's the same as the election. If you accept the outcome of the election, if we all concede and say, oh yes, Joe Biden won before it goes to court, then they don't have to fight. Then they don't lose. Do you see what I'm saying? It's this like fear and strong arming to try to get you to give up something that is fairly yours. Your freedoms are fairly yours because your forefathers fought for them. Jesus died on the cross for you to have it, both spiritually, then you have it, and also physically. So I get really frustrated when I go out and I'm like, why are all these people just doing it? And nobody's social distance. Nobody's doing hand sanitizing. They're all packed in. They think this little mask is going to help them. And it's just simply not true, folks. If we want to talk about health, we're talking about vitamin C, D3, water, sunshine, zinc, olive leaf. You're talking about things that actually make a difference to your health. A piece of paper across your face while you're shoving in sugar and diet products and vaccines and Botox and all kinds of other crap that doesn't help you doesn't work. So it's just time for us to get real and realize that you're fighting fear and control more than you are fighting a virus. So I just want to encourage those of you that understand. Now listen, like I said before, if you are struggling with health or you are super feeling like you need to wear one, then go and be blessed. But for all the other people, like the ones that come up to me all the time and say, oh, just stop. Just nothing's going to happen. What's the worst that happens? Someone asks you to leave a store? Great. Go shop online or go shop somewhere else. And like I said, if they make a big fuss with you, then you have recourse against them and you're going to win. Let me tell you a quick story and then I'm going to go because it's super late and I just have to go. But anyway, listen. So I was at a large department store and a woman freaked out on me. I mean, freaked out. She was helping somebody else, beeline to the middle of the store where I was with my husband. No one else was around, and screamed at me that I had to cover my face. And it was so alarming that I just stood there and I was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, you have to cover your face or you have to leave. And I'm like, no, I don't, ma'am. I'm by myself. I'm social distancing. I'm not contagious. I've already had it. I can't pass it, blah, blah, blah. My doctor told me not to do it. And she started freaking out, telling me I had to wear a plastic face shield. And I'm like, well, I don't have one. So, okay. So she escalated it. It went to the manager and then it went to the general manager. And so we had a nice conversation. Like be kind with people and be intelligent. But you don't have to back down. So we had a nice conversation for 20 minutes. He ended up agreeing with me and I continued shopping and it was fine. As I left the store that day, she was heckling me and was like, well, I guess she won. And she did it about 2 or 3 times. And so I had to stop her and say, ma'am, with all due respect, you can't scream at customers, especially not in front of other people. It's really inappropriate. And, And I left it at that. You're not fighting with people, you're fighting the spirits against them, okay? So don't get mad at people. But anyway, long story short, I was in the same store today, went shopping, no mask, no problem. Same GM was there. Nobody said a word to me. And as I was leaving the store, guess who was at the door checking receipts? The same individual. And I said to my husband, okay, well, we'll see how this goes, but I'll just smile and be kind. Let me tell you, friends, it's kind of hilarious. We approach, what did I do here? We approached the little booth and we gave the receipt for her to check. And as we're approaching the booth, I kid you not, she's taking her mask off and she's coughing. I mean, like coughing. And she starts going, these masks make me choke, and then I can't stop coughing. And she's coughing and coughing and coughing. And she looks up and it's me. I thought it was so funny. The person that's yelling at me about covering my face is taking her mask off to cough. It's like, do you see what, oh my gosh, it was so perfect. And she looked at me and she knew me and I knew her but I'm not upset with her. I'm not you're not fighting with people. But she was like hacking and coughing and she said nothing. She had such a happy face on. So I think probably the general manager that I spoke with probably talked with her, but it was just very ironic that it happened to be the same person and I catch her taking her mask off to hack and then put it back on. So, we can't police people, guys. We need to be known for our love and we need to have great grace for people. So if somebody's wearing a mask, I'm not like, why are you wearing a mask? But the same respect goes to those who weren't. But I want to encourage you, if what I'm saying is hitting you at a place where you're like, yeah, I shouldn't wear one either. And because it's not about the mask, it's the political signaling. It's saying that it's for health when it's not. It's saying that it's doing the right thing for science when it's not, because science it's not proven. It doesn't make any sense. And it keeps getting extended, okay? And now they're talking about more shutdowns, which is actually hurting people way more than a virus will. And the death rate, which is sad if anybody passes from anything, including the virus, but I'm saying the death rate is like 0.008 or 0.08. It's super low. So we have been fed a line of garbage that isn't real, and you're told to modify your entire lives for your kids to not go to school, even though you pay taxes for it. It's just, at what point are we going to get off the roller coaster and say, I've had enough? I've had enough. I'm actually going to go to the store because it's my right to do so. I'm going to spend my money, which I have earned. I'm going to not wear a mask because I don't need to. And that's okay. Or we can just keep rolling over and we can keep complying. And eventually they're going to say, guess what? Now you can't come in unless you have a COVID card, because that's what's next. I believe this is a big testing. And of course, God, we're praying. I believe God's intervening with all of this and his plan's going to unfold. And I believe that we're still contending for our president because we're not going to concede. And I believe he's getting in. And when that happens, a lot of stuff's going to shake out. But you're having all the forces of darkness coming against all the forces of light, and they're trying to shut us up and shut us down any way they can and isolate us. But it's not going to work. So I say all that to say, listen, take it from Benjamin Franklin. If you're willing to give up liberty for a little bit of comfort, you don't deserve either. Be bold, be strong, be courageous, stand in the strength that God has given you and go and live your life and be free. Do not surrender to your fear. Just keep going. And like I said, if you have to wear it, wear it. But if you don't, don't. We need to mobilize. The left mobilize as well. They get their message out. We need to do it too. We are not going to be controlled. Our government works for us. We need the truth. We need transparency. We need real health options to be put out there for people to get healthy. And it doesn't involve pharmaceuticals, but that's a whole other vaccine that we can go over that a whole nother time. I just want to encourage you, friends, as you go out, be free. Don't be afraid of people. And it is way more important to have freedom than anything else. Period. End of story. So I love you. I hope that was emboldening you. I hope it made sense because it's getting late. But be free. Stay free. Good night.